It doesn't matter if you compost or if you don't. When you cut your vegetables from the grocery store, does it pain you to throw them out? Do you want to grow something else from that? Let's talk about that right here. Is that fact or fiction? Right here on the Backyard Gardens podcast. All right, everybody. We have a thing going on right now on Patreon. We get 4 more patrons, and then we are going to put everybody's name into a drawing, and then you do a one-on-one Zoom call with us. So come join us, help support the show. We cannot do it without you. This is a patron-run show, and we will give you 2 extra episodes a month. So there you go.
We are going to put the names into a Crown Royal bag, the purple one, and we're going to pull the name out.
See, I don't drink, though. You got Crown Royal bag? Like, I know
don't
you
drink
got
Crown Royal.
Never mind.
Look, I don't drink Crown Royal, but I got a bag or 2.
Ain't nothing ever been kept in a Crown Royal bag. That's all I got to say. So
I'm going to say so. I've been told that perhaps in the last week's episode, and you got to go back there and listen, that maybe my storytelling went a little long. It was kind of like, remember MTV used to do that, like storytelling or something?
Yeah.
There's a whole show with that. So go back and listen to those stories because this episode will be storyless.
Oh, my goodness.
That's it. I'm putting my foot down.
So what are we
overcorrecting?
So what are we talking about here? We're talking about like you see the videos on social media and everything where people are sticking the butt of lettuce in the ground and regrowing it. You know, an onion, carrot tops, scallions, all this stuff. They're taking cuttings from the grocery store and rooting them and regrowing them. And we want to talk about if you watch the videos, you know it can be done, but is it really worth it? That's really the question. And that brings it into the fact or fiction aspect of it.
Yeah. So celery is another big one.
Yeah, celery.
I see, and anything that you purchase with that root already intact is an excellent candidate for it. But I always wonder, because a lot of these people put it in water. Right. And so there's the whole hydroponics, movement when it comes to growing things. But that's not what they're doing. So I always say to myself, where is this thing getting its nutrients from to produce whatever it's this new growth? So I say that to say, sure, it's going to grow, but have we just lost all of the value in the plant when it comes to whatever nutrients you're getting from it?
Well, the idea is I think you start it in the water and then you move it to the soil once it gets a root.
I guess I see people cutting celery and green onions from their counter, for whatever is in a glass of water or whatever. So I have seen onions transplanted outside for that.
And I think, it's the same idea as like propagating. There's a lot of stuff that I propagate that I don't put directly in soil. There's some stuff that I do, but I put it in the water until I get a little bit of, it's just like your sweet potatoes.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then you put them in and then you really start to get growth when they get in contact with that soil. But first of all, have you ever done this at all?
No, I'm almost certain that I've not, other than sweet potatoes. But that's for the purpose of.
So I do it and I currently do it.
Okay. What do you do it for?
Scallions. I do it with scallions. It works great with scallions right off the bat. Like you just cut them, stick them in water. There's already roots attached to them. They grow. And then I took them and put them in my garden. And I have a little space for them and they grow because I can't ever get the seeds to go. So I'm like, what the hell? Why not?
Are scallions the same as green onions and green onions the same as scallions?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure.
Someone's yelling, of course not!
Yeah. And so I've done it with chives as well. And it worked okay. But, when we talk about like the celery and the lettuce and stuff like that, I mean, if you cut the top, you've eaten it and you put it in the water and it's going to get roots. What's the time frame here? I mean, seriously.
I don't know the time frame. I've not done it.
Well, I mean, you've seen it, though.
Are you going with the whole idea of why not just start a plant?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going with. I mean, and especially like a carrot. It's like, okay, I cut the top off my carrot and I put the top in the ground and it's growing a carrot. Like, who gives a crap about that carrot? It's one carrot, dude. You know how much effort you put into that one carrot? It's not like you're going to get a bunch of carrots out of it. You're going to get one carrot.
But you picked the worst one to go in on because carrots, are notoriously hard to start from seed. So why not take the top and go for it? My first step is as a gardener, right? I plant stuff and I grow stuff, and in mostly the traditional way. So I always look at that as kind of frou-frou. I mean, I think that for some of the vegetables you mentioned, like for the winter, if you're not growing outside in the winter, that could be like a pretty good way to, again, still build on whatever vegetables you have, save some money. I definitely get that.
You think so?
I think it's a production. I think so, yeah.
I don't agree with you at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to elaborate or can I continue? Yeah. So you made me lose my train of thought. God, that was abrupt.
So easy.
Yeah. I thought as I was saying, okay, I didn't care, but maybe I do care.
Yeah. You look like you cared. I could tell you that. No, I mean, my thing, you take the bud of lettuce and you stick it in the water, and I'm just going to stick with that one for a second, and you start to root it. It starts to sprout a little bit. But in the same time frame that you do that, you can put a seed in some soil and grow that right in your house too. And as we've stated on here before, you don't need a big setup for that. Hell, you don't need anything different than a light bulb that you have in your lamp to give it light. Like, you don't need anything else. You know what I mean?
But the dollars and cents, plainly put, it's the getting a second use out of a thing. And it's definitely, what's the term that they use? It's definitely like, frou-frou is the word we use on the show, but that's not the word I like to use. It's definitely this thing where it's like, oh, look at what we can do. Like, anyone that suggested that to me is someone that doesn't garden.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you just, right? Now, don't get it twisted, because we may need to lean into some of these methods, depending on what happens in years to come. So I don't want to completely discount it. I think I enjoy the idea of growing from start to finish more so.
Yeah.
And with something like lettuce, you're still going to be able to get new lettuce leaves quicker using that store-bought bud versus planting seeds. So I am coming one more time and saying you could do that in the winter and produce lettuce.
So when it grows
faster.
the leaves back, it literally looks exactly like a seedling leaf growing. So the question becomes, I mean, okay, you'll get root development faster, possibly. You're going to have to start it in water, so it's going to take more space, and then you're going to have to move it to a soil. So that's going to take more effort, to really do it appropriately. I just don't see, because you also have to consider too, as it sits in the water, it's going to begin to rot. The actual plant itself will begin to rot. So there's more steps involved.
A little bit more babysitting, but you get some days into it. It's very much like the cut and come again method. So I peel the outer leaves when I cut and come again, but I've seen people like straight come in with scissors straight across.
That's what I've been doing.
And so it's going to grow again from that center, and so the look and the feel of the plant, it drives me crazy. The jagged edges, like when you got like the outer leaves are completely cut and, but it's a lot less work. It's a lot less work than, taking leaves off of just the outer. Anywho, but that's the same. I mean, that's what you're going to be dealing with ultimately. Your plant's going to look the same once you get it into some soil. Right.
Now, I did want to clarify that we are speaking specifically to gardeners for this. And I do think there is one amazing purpose for doing this. And that is for the fact of teaching people how food grows, how resilient it is, and how you can do it. I think it is a very good purpose for that. But as far as consumption, I'm not on board, especially the damn carrot and the onion. So, and I haven't done an onion. I would be tempted to do it. My question for the onion would be, onions are biennial. So if it's grown to bulb and then you harvest it and then you regrow it, is it in fact just going to go to seed? That's the question I have, because to be frank, I've never seen anybody harvest anything other than a leaf of a lettuce or something like that from anything like this. I'm not invested enough to actually do it, but I would be interested to see if somebody did. And just like with the carrot, I mean, carrots are hard to plant. I'm gonna tell you right now how you can do it. You can take, when you put your carrot seed and you put them in, get a handful of peat moss and put that down first, and then wet it and then put it in, and then that'll keep it moist because they take so long. But if you think about that, in 1 square foot, you can put technically 16 carrots. I put 12. You're going to get 12 carrots, but how much are you going to get out of the actual bundle of carrots that you bought? You know what I mean? Because there's more to it. Like, you have green, let's say you bought a carrot that has the greens on it. You can't plant it with the greens on it and expect it to survive because there's no roots to feed the greens. So you've got to know how to trim the roots back. There's like steps to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess the opening could be, propagating, taking cuttings from grocery stores. It's easier to grow. Like, that's the way that it's kind of positioned.
Yeah.
You can just, it's just as easy or easier to take, insert this head of lettuce and grow your own. And I think I would stand and say that it's not easier at any type of volume, say it that way.
Right.
A single head, sure. 1 carrot, sure. I don't know how much celery we really need, but.
Well, yeah, I don't know much about celery, honestly. My climate's not the best for it, but I'm not saying I wouldn't grow it. I may actually dive into it next year. I haven't decided, but.
Take some cuttings from the grocery store.
Yeah. So you've mentioned reusing it. You like the fact that it's reusing it, right?
I think people like the fact that.
But you specifically said that too, right?
No,
Leonard?
I don't.
Leonard can't find it.
As he looks for it, let me make a mental note of all the houseplants that I need to trim here. No, I don't. I'm not a fan of this.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not a fan of this method.
So I know that it was definitely said that people like the fact that it's reused. Now my argument goes, what are you going to get more benefit out of, regrowing that lettuce or composting it and putting it back into your garden?
You're applying a bit of logic that I probably said we like to reuse things, and it's the general we.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily about, like, from the beginning into the end what makes most sense, what checks all the boxes. It's we're enamored by the idea of, look at what's growing in my windowsill.
Yeah, and
that's enough.
Now, see, that's enough for a lot of people. That's the point. That's cool. I think that's the point that I agree with. If you don't have any expectation out of it. But as far as, and this is a gardening podcast and we talk about feeding our families and stuff, is this going to feed your family?
I thought this was that other podcast we were working on.
No, we haven't done a recording for that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's the kind of the avenue that I'm going down. For your common person, sure, you put it in a windowsill. It's cool to look at. Something to do in the wintertime, definitely. But to feed our families, like, I can't get on board with it. Now, I will say I've had the same scallions in my garden or green onions, whatever, for 3 years now. And we harvest off of them. Yeah. So I did actually get them to grow. I take that back. I got them to grow by seed one time. And they got to be about 4 feet tall and about 3 inches wide. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Like, nobody even wanted it.
Are you harvesting and then repeating the method, or are they perennial year after year?
They're perennial year after year.
Okay.
And so this year I may add some more to it, but we use them so infrequently. I mean, I just use an onion. You know what I mean? That's not really my thing. My neighbors come use it more than I do. I have people come in like, can I get some green onions? I'm like, yeah, sure. Bring some scissors. I don't even go clip it, but it's definitely a good one because it grows back the same way that you put it in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you put it in and then it just regrows the green. Otherwise, you have to form a carrot. You have to form an entire onion, something like that. I don't know.
The lifespan is a little bit longer.
Yeah.
There is something to say about the green onion, or in just that it's one of those plants that, it's a shorter window to get to the point of using. And I think that there is some benefit of that.
Yeah.
So you made the argument about, do you really cut back and how much time do you really cut off? And I'm not going to argue about that. You're probably right. Write it down, someone. But I do like the idea of green onions, and I actually have a couple that I probably should be pulling up now for, say, they're not going to create the bulb, like it's all toppled over, poor thing. And so I should be using it for green onions. Interesting, this winter I had a bag of yellow onions that fell behind something in the cabinet. And when I pulled it out, I'm like, green onions everywhere. And I was very tempted to take those and put those in the garden this spring. But I'm like, I don't want to watch one more YouTube video. I'm not going to look at one more, like, what's the instruction here? So I basically just cut them up as green onions and use them.
And were they good?
I mean, they're not, nothing's like, a sauteed yellow or sweet onion. There's nothing like that.
Yeah. Or a Vidalia onion.
Oh, listen now. Shoot.
A little bit of butter right on the grill. Good night.
My toes starting to squeak. Yeah. Yeah, so they weren't that, but that's not what I expected. So yeah, they were good.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's, and there's a number of other vegetables. I mean, we can't cover off on all of these that people have done. But there are a number of them. And like I said, I really think it's a good idea, especially for kids, to learn how to grow and see a plant grow in action. I think it's cool because you can see the roots and everything, and the fact that, dude, it's like a phoenix. You know what I mean? It dies and comes back, basically. Like once you cut it, it's effectively dead, and then it comes back, and you can learn from that.
Are you able to then take something from the grocery store, enjoy some of it, plant it in your garden, enjoy more of it, then let it go to seed and save those seeds?
I don't do that because I'm particular about the varieties of some stuff. So no, that's me.
But I said, can you?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, it's a plant, right? It does the same thing. So, all right, fact or fiction? I think we're going to have to put, throughout this small episode, I think we have to put a qualifier on there. Fact or fiction, it's a good idea to feed your family.
No, I don't like that qualifier.
No, we'll do multiples. Let's just do that one.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Wait.
Uh-oh.
No, assuming if you have access to other seeds and plants, no.
Right. What was the qualifier you want to use? Let's do that.
Fact or fiction, does it actually work?
Why? Oh, does it actually work? Yeah, it works. It's fact.
It's fact.
There's no doubt about it, but not for everything. But yeah, it's fact.
Yeah.
Ain't no shame in the game. All right, everybody.
I'm pleased. Yeah.
Check it out. It's fact. You heard
Do
it
I
right
have
here.
time for a story? Okay, never mind. We'll save it for the next episode.
Tell them something good.
See ya.